ready to present at the getting ready to start the peak performance. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Savvy Sales Lady Live. I'm your host, Christine Harrington. Now, before I begin telling you how to spot red flags, it's first essential to know that I can be dumber than a box of rocks. Yes, that's true. I have made the same stupid mistakes over and over again. And the most important thing I've learned through my sales mistakes is to spot red flags. Now, being aware of red flags as a prospecting strategy is essential if you care about your time. Are you beating a dead prospecting horse because you've either ignored or hoped the prospect would drink the water you're selling? Are you aware of red flags when prospecting? The top sales professionals consistently see the red flags that others spend valuable time and resources trying to convert to sales. Red flags can threaten your sales and sales goals if you leave them unchecked. Now, in this podcast, you're going to learn 5 automatic red flags. So let's dive in to discover the hazards. All right. Let me put up the graphic here for you. Here are the 5 red flags. Now, the first red flag is the buying role. What is the buying role of each prospect? Do you know? Do you understand that? Who is the decision maker? Is there more than one? Are there people who may not make the final decision, but definitely influence the decision maker by providing requested feedback? Do you know if that's going on? Who's the key players and who are the minor players? These are all important when prospecting, especially if your prospect is a medium-sized to larger company. So you want to look at each prospect and assess the red flags based on missing information that could be critical for moving the sales forward. And who are the right people that can help move that sale forward? Are you putting the information in your CRM, or at the very least, are you putting it down on paper so you have a visual and can actually see the gaps? I used to do this when I sold group insurance benefits. I would create a hierarchy on paper so that I could visually see, is there anybody else I'm missing? And you'll be surprised how many red flags suddenly pop up into your awareness when you create this map or this hierarchy. I want to stress how important that is. Now, what's red flag number 2? Credible information. Are you assuming that you're gathering credible information? Is the information you gathered truly 100% credible? Or do you have some degree of uncertainty? What's that, gut check telling you? You've got to be honest about this. Do you have data consistent with the sale, but are uncertain about what it means to close the sale? Or do you lack consistent data and you know you lack it and you're ignoring it. Unless you have 100% credible information, you have a red flag that needs more consistent data to avoid a hazardous condition when closing the sale, or the fact that it never gets closed because you don't have the data to back it up. The number 3 red flag is the decision makers. The decision makers not contacted. So think about this. Any buyer, whether they're a key player or a minor player, that has not been identified or contacted as a potential decision maker is a definite hazard to the sale. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you need to talk to everyone, but it's better to be strategic about this and assign the best person on your team as a touch point to the buyer. For example, your account manager may be given a specific minor role in getting this deal closed, or the implementation team may be assigned a key player. It may be different for every prospect. Nonetheless, you need to coordinate all areas of responsibility to the best players on your team. In all cases, it could be you, but only you can assess the situation thoroughly. In my group benefit days, on one specific occasion, this one prospect, and you can imagine when you're changing group benefits from one vendor to another, it could be disruptive company-wide. So in one particular case where I could see the red flag was the prospect was really uncomfortable with this disruption. So I brought the implementation team on early to give them reassurance about how we could do this easy, smooth, and simply. So that helped calm down the fears of that prospect about causing major disruption if they were to change vendors to us. That's just one example. Now, here's another one. I had a very complex sales. I had a very complex sale when I was in corporate insurance. And I thought it made sense to get our corporate attorney involved to review the actual contractual agreements, which we all worked out, and it cinched the deal. It was successful because I addressed all the decision makers' objections and calmed their fears. So red flag number 4, a new face to the company. So before we get into that, let's take a short commercial break and I'll be right back. If you like the Savvy Sales Lady Live, you're really going to like the Savvy Sales Lady newsletter. It's delivered in your inbox once a week. Why don't you go ahead and subscribe? The link is in the show notes below so you won't miss this upcoming newsletter. I give you one tip to focus on each week to implement immediately into your sales day. Why not sign up and learn just a little bit more? And speaking of learning a little bit more, I have gotten questions about my services. And I don't talk about my services much when I'm doing podcasts or in my videos. But because the question has been coming up, I'm doing something a little bit different this summer. I thought I'd take this time to go through it with you. And that is, right now, I'm offering a one-time coaching offer. It's $150. It's 50% off my normal price. Now, this is for the person who has that one burning question, that one problem that one issue they just can't seem to solve in their selling world, that they need to either talk it through with me or they need fresh ideas. So I'm offering this for a short time at $150. I put the link to schedule a time to book it in the chat area. But if you go on and decide that you want to continue coaching, which I always recommend is a good idea, then I will take that $150 and deduct it off of a coaching package. Okay. And the coaching packages are completely designed around your needs and your issues. So if you want to take advantage of that, the link is in the description area below the video and in the chat. So that, again, this is just a short time offer. So thank you for those questions about my services. Now, let's get back to the red flags. Red flag number 4, a new face to the company. This is a big red flag. If you have a company that now has a new face, this is often a hidden red flag because you may be completely unaware of the new sheriff in town, so to speak. By far, this is the most frustrating red flag because the new face often brings old trusted relationships with them to their new position or to the new company. And it can often delay the sale. A new face can come in a form of a consultant the buyer brings in to make an assessment. So beware, don't ignore the consultant or take the consultant for granted. Bring the consultant in on the deal to establish the buyer's best interest. That's what I absolutely suggest. A consultant doesn't have to be a hazard, but ignored, the consultant could be a threat. So keep that in mind. Red flag number 5 is a reorg of the company. Now, reorgs were not that common 30 years ago. Oh my gosh, in today's market, it seems like companies are reorganizing every year. For large companies, it's easy to spot reorgs through acquisitions and mergers. Did you know I had been through 9 downsizings in 17 years due to acquisitions and mergers? Entire companies I worked for were just let go. I mean, it was nuts back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So middle to small size markets, it's much harder to spot. And I'm thinking this through. And what if it's only an internal reorg? In other words, it's not an acquisition or merger. It's just an internal reorganization. That happens too. And that can be difficult, especially when all the titles stay the same, but the authority and power has been redistributed. Most people don't want to say they lost their power. Now, this is one I got burned on. A company I was prospecting for group benefits insurance had an internal reorganization with none of the titles changing, but all the authority and power had been redistributed. The critical player I'd been working with for 6 months didn't tell me he was no longer the primary decision maker. Why? Because he was embarrassed to tell me the truth. So he strung me along month after month. Then, to pour salt on my wound, at a networking event, another vendor approached me and said, I was shocked you didn't get that deal. She went on to tell me what she knew and that my contact had been removed from the buying decision. You can say I left that networking event with my pantyhose in a twist. I knew nothing about this because my prospect never revealed that to me. I had to find it out through a networking event from another vendor. So beware of those types of red flags. Now, here's a hazard note. If you become aware of internal reorg, be sure and re-identify all the key players and minor players. Be sure you do that. Now, these 5 red flags are not only the red flags you should be concerned with, but they are the most common and dangerous ones you'll consistently encounter. So use these red flag strategies to improve your sales. I saw some people coming in late to this podcast. Here are the red flags. This replay will be available right after this stream is over, so you can catch up and go through it from the very beginning. Again, the red flags are: number 1, the buying role. Do you really know that? Credible information. Are you sure you have it all? Decision makers not contacted. Do you know all the decision makers? A new face to the company. This can really throw, a wrench in it all. And did the reorg of the company, are you even aware that happened and all the power and authority changed? So be sure and review this again after the live stream. I really hope that this helps you sell more. And remember, everyone, sales is a journey, not a quick trip around the block. I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.